Black people worked too hard to become Black Americans in this society, and we were slaves here. And we did a lot of free work.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans own slaves?
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and
I'm not.
And it makes sense to me that someone like Jillian Michaels would say something like this. She is from a reality TV show. She's known for the show The Biggest Loser. It was a show where they would bring on people who were overweight, struggling with image and everything, and they would help them lose weight by making them do.
All right, folks, strap in. You think you know the whole story? You've seen the headlines, you've caught the clips, but you have not heard it broken down like this. This isn't just another celebrity feud. This is a seismic event, a cultural fault line cracking wide open. And what's pouring out is the raw, unfiltered truth about race, history, and power in America. Welcome to Behind the Fame. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into a firestorm that erupted not on a comedy stage, but from the heart of one of our most fearless truth tellers, Katt Williams. His target, fitness guru and TV personality, Jillian Michaels.
Get this racism past us. Like, no white person in here has ever had a slave a day in your life. Don't you want to get this the off of you? Pay those reparations.
The Spark, a chilling comment on national television about slavery that has sent shockwaves through the nation. But this is about so much more than one bad take. This is about a calculated war on memory, a battle for the soul of our history, and a receipts-dropping, mic-dropping moment of clarity that you cannot afford to miss. Picture this, the sterile, bright lights of a CNN studio. The air is thick with the usual political punditry.
I'm not allowed to then come back the next day and apologize. That's for the Tracy Morgans of the world. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. Don't come here talking to sons of slaves about that.
Then, Jillian Michaels, a woman famous for yelling at people to lose weight, decides to weigh in on one of the most profound wounds in American history. Her argument, we need to get past slavery. Her justification, a stunning ahistorical statistic. Less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves. It was a statement so clean, so sterile, so convenient. It reduces centuries of brutal state-sanctioned torture and economic exploitation to a simple math problem with a negligible percentage. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for an entire nation's original sin, and for a moment the world moved on.
Friend, don't you want to get slavery behind you? You ain't never had a slave in your mother life. Get this past you. You pay them reparations, racism is dead. Get it past you, white friends.
Another day, another tone-deaf comment from a celebrity, but then Katt Williams entered the chat, and he didn't just enter. He arrived with a battering ram of truth, a library of receipts, and a righteous fury that was decades in the making. This wasn't a comedy bit. This was a historical correction. This was a prosecutor presenting his case to the court of public opinion, and the verdict was devastating. Y'all, Katt Williams just snapped on Jillian Michaels, and the receipts he dropped are wild. From the jump, Katt made it clear this was a different kind of conversation. He wasn't there to play nice or follow the rules of polite discourse. He was there to litigate the very foundation of her argument, to expose the rot beneath the surface. Let that sink in. Pay those reparations. In 3 words, Katt reframed the entire debate. The question isn't about black people getting over it. The question is about white America making amends. He flipped the script. The burden isn't on the victim to forget the crime. It's on the perpetrator to make it right. And this is where we need to hit pause. Because what Katt is exposing here is the ultimate double standard. Think about it. Really think. What do you think? Is Katt right? Is there a glaring hypocrisy in how we treat historical trauma in this country? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Hey, if you're getting anything out of this deep dive, you need to be part of the Behind the Fame family. We go beyond the headlines to uncover the real stories. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a single explosive breakdown. Where are the politicians telling Jewish people to get over the Holocaust? Where are the pundits suggesting we stop talking about the genocide of Native Americans because it was a long time ago? We build museums. We mandate school curriculums. We have solemn days of remembrance. These tragedies are treated as sacred, undeniable parts of history. But when it comes to the 246 years of chattel slavery that built the very economic engine of the Western world, the response is a collective, do we have to keep talking about this? It's so negative. Katt Williams called this out with surgical precision. Why is the memory of black suffering the only one we're asked to erase? The answer is as old as America itself, because that memory is the key to unlocking the truth about wealth, power, and who really built this country. But Katt, being Katt, didn't stop there. He went for the jugular. He exposed the darker, more insidious agenda behind this forget slavery narrative. Boom.
Even talk about slavery in America, you know why? Because they don't want to give no credit to the people that got black people out of slavery in the first place. They don't want them to get no shine. So they erased it from history. But I'll say it right here in front of the world. Black women got black people out of slavery in America. That's the facts. As a group, black women did.
This is the part of the story they don't put in the textbooks. The whitewashed version of history wants you to believe slavery ended because of the benevolent generosity of Abraham Lincoln and a few good white people. It's a narrative of salvation, not liberation. Katt ripped that lie to shreds. He forced us to remember the truth, that black people, and black women in particular, were the architects of their own freedom. They were the Harriet Tubmans leading daring raids. They were the Sojourner Truths demanding justice. They were the countless unnamed who resisted, who escaped, who poisoned slave masters, who broke tools, who fought back in 1,000 ways every single day. They were the ultimate abolitionists. The system doesn't want you to know that because it shifts the power dynamic. It transforms black people from passive recipients of freedom into active agents of their own destiny. And that is a powerful, dangerous, and inspiring truth. And here's where the plot thickens and the real villain of this story emerges. This wasn't just Jillian Michaels having a bad day. Her comments were a direct echo of a much larger, more sinister political project.
He's not whitewashing slavery. So
he's not?
He's not. No.
Okay.
He's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you
can't tie slavery.
Let's talk about the fact.
I mean, slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans own slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
Do you know
the slave
who
owners.
was the first race to try to end slavery?
Wait a second.
Well, what's controversial?
Let's connect the dots. Just days before her CNN appearance, Donald Trump had declared war on the Smithsonian and other museums. On his Truth Social platform, he raged against woke institutions that are always talking about how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was. He signed an executive order. He published a list of exhibits he wanted removed. His mission: to sanitize American history, to scrub it clean of the blood and the brutality, to create a palatable patriotic myth where slavery was a minor, unfortunate footnote.
Chattel slavery was unlike any other system of enslavement in history due to its permanence, racialization, and extreme dehumanization. Unlike ancient slavery, where individuals could sometimes earn their freedom, marry into society, or hold status, American slavery was hereditary. Children born to enslaved mothers were enslaved for life, with no legal pathway to freedom. This system was codified into law, ensuring that black people were permanently seen as property, not individuals with rights. And while some point out that Africans participated in the slave trade by selling captives to Europeans, it is crucial to recognize that the system that they contributed to was vastly different from the chattel slavery that emerged in the Americas. African societies engaged in slavery as a byproduct of war or debt, often with opportunities for eventual freedom. What Europeans created was industrialized systems that permanently dehumanized an entire race, with no possibility of liberation.
Not the central economic engine of the nation for its first century. Jillian Michaels was just a foot soldier in this war on memory. She was providing the intellectual cover, flimsy as it was for a political agenda aimed at erasing the very concept of systemic racism. And her less than 2% argument, it's not just wrong, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how slavery worked. Slavery wasn't a hobby for a few rich guys. It was the bedrock of the American economy. It was a system from which every white person benefited, whether they owned slaves or not.
They fought wars, they led revolts, they built America. But in the US Constitution, they were counted as 3/5 of a person. Not a full human, not even close. This wasn't a glitch, it was the law. In 1787, during the writing of the Constitution, the US made a deal. To give southern states more power, every 5 enslaved black people would count as 3/5. That's how slave states got more seats in Congress while keeping millions in chains.
Poor white farmers benefited because they weren't at the bottom of the social ladder. Northern bankers and industrialists benefited because they financed the plantations and insured the enslaved bodies. The entire nation's wealth was supercharged by 250 years of free labor. As one economist bluntly put it in a separate discussion Katt alluded to, this isn't emotional rhetoric. This is cold, hard math. The United States became the largest economy in the world on the backs of stolen labor. The first American millionaires were cotton barons. Enslaved black people were quite literally the most valuable asset class in the entire country, worth more than all the railroads and factories combined.
Built the biggest economy in the world without us.
Right.
It was actually built because of us.
This is true.
The largest reverse transfer of wealth, arguably in world history and modern history, is black slavery. That's not me making an emotional statement. I'm not throwing darts.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Right.
I love math because it doesn't have an opinion.
Right.
And the fact is, we're the largest economy in the world. The fact is, the first millionaire in America came from cotton, financing it out of New York City.
Right.
The fact is that black slaves were worth more than railroads. Our railroads were arguably the most valuable asset in the 19th and part of the 20th century. Blacks were twice that. The fact is that we worked for free for 270 some odd years. Nothing better than free labor. And the fact is that we couldn't create wealth, we couldn't create assets because we were assets. Bought, trade, insured, finance, underwritten. We were literally, whether if you're a bank, if you're a finance company, if you're an insurance company, if you were a trading company, I mean, 1 out of 5 people in the world at a certain point in the 1800s were involved or connected to cotton. Well, where did cotton come from? In the world. It came from us.
Right.
So when Jillian says, stop blaming white people, she's asking us to ignore the fundamental math of American history. She's asking us to believe that a skyscraper can stand without a foundation. But the most disturbing, the most chilling part of this entire saga, the part that should make your skin crawl, is this. Jillian Michaels is raising a black daughter. A young girl she adopted from Haiti, and yet this same woman went on television and used the phrase black degeneracy. Let me repeat that. She argued that the real problem in America isn't white supremacy, but black degeneracy. Imagine being that little girl. Imagine growing up in a home with a mother who publicly declares that the core pathology in society lies within your own race. How do you reconcile that? What does that do to a child's psyche? This exposes the ultimate hypocrisy. The I have a black friend or I have a black child defense is rendered meaningless when it's coupled with a fundamental denial of that child's history and a perpetuation of racist tropes about their character. It makes you wonder, what is the real motivation behind such an adoption? Is it love, or is it a prop in a performance of racial absolution? The comments on social media say it all. Someone needs to check on that child. The concern is real, and it is terrifying. Katt Williams, in his brilliant, rambling, truth-telling way, connected all of this to a grander op, a systemic agenda to prevent Black unity and leadership. This is the grand finale of Katt's lesson.
You had the ability to control the Black people on this planet. There isn't anything that you couldn't take, dismantle, destroy, or interrupt if you could mobilize Black people. And so part of the ops agenda, a part of their modus operandi, is to find out which one of you is a potential leader. And if you are, then we begin a work of progress on your life, which will make people get off of that. It's a part of it, as much as in any defense, you trying to figure out which way this dude is likely to go so I can rip that ball. It's the same. You probably wonder, why do white people pay so much attention to Black people if they don't like them?
The push to make us forget slavery isn't about comfort, it's about control. If Black people fully internalize the truth of their history, not as one of victimhood, but as one of immense resilience, survival, and self-liberation, that knowledge becomes an unstoppable source of power. It fosters a unity that cannot be manipulated or divided. By trying to erase that history, the system is attempting to sever Black Americans from their source of strength. It's a strategic move to maintain the status quo. So what we witnessed wasn't just a comedian clapping back, it was a masterclass in historical analysis. It was a courageous act of truth-telling in a culture that desperately wants to forget. Katt Williams didn't just drag Jillian Michaels, he dragged an entire ideology into the light and exposed its rotting core. He reminded us that the past isn't past. It's present in every dollar of generational wealth, in every inequity in our justice system, in every debate about reparations, and in every attempt to whitewash a museum exhibit.